All right, it's another beautiful day in the desert, and today we're going to proceed with basically part 3 of our kit making, our gasifier cook stove kit. We've already made the gasifier portion, and we have another hobo stove that can be used separately or together, putting this one on top. And especially with our with extra accessories we're going to make today, we'll be able to use this much more like the way that I would like to use it. So this is basically an upgrade for me too. So we're going to find a way to cover up these holes, because these holes get in the way of the chimney effect. You want it to go from down here all the way up to the top without any extra turbulence, which is definitely going to be added if you put extra holes here. So we want to cover up these holes, but also have a way to, we're going to make it so that you can cover them up, but also open them up if you need to, and with a hobo stove. So it'll be like a multi-use sort of thing. You can put them here, or you can even put them down here if you're having issues with like wind and stuff like that. So and in addition to that, we're gonna find some uses for all these extra parts, like these pieces, which we're gonna have a top and a bottom. They're gonna come off the other can. And in addition to that, we also want a way that when we put the pot on top, a way to not only allow the air to come up here, but actually serve as a windshield and a heat reflector to keep air concentrated, the hot air concentrated right around the cooking pot. So let me aim the camera back down here at our makeshift table. No shadows. So we'll get our third pot. We've already taken the lid off. In fact, this is the lid that we've been using to little diagrams on. And get the label off. Is this going to be tougher? This one's a little bit tougher than the other ones. So you can see beans is another way to get the 28-ounce can. What's this one say? This one actually says 30 ounces. So it's when you get up to like things that say 32 ounces, you're probably in another range of cans. And the only things I've really seen in that are like canned tomatoes, Mexican canned tomatoes. Maybe you'll find them in other things if you want a larger size can, which might be useful if you, let's see, 30-ounce can will probably be about the same size as the paint can. So you could use it instead of a paint can, I imagine, though you won't have the handy insert a Progresso can one-step gasifier stove. And I don't know if there's a handy larger can, but if there was, that would be really nice to have. You could make like a third thing to insert all of this in a protective case. Okay, that'll be good enough for now. I can worry about cleanup later. Okay, so there's a couple things that we're going to do with this. One is we're gonna have the bottom cut off. And we're going to do exactly the same thing we did here, cutting a hole in it. But in this case, we'll have a completely different purpose. We'll have a hole in there, but it's going to be a simmer ring. In fact, I think I might even make a smaller hole. And what we'll do with that is, in fact, I'm going to pause the video and go get my cooking pots, which I should have had already. Okay, so we now have the cooking pots. So I'll show you what we're going to do. So we'll have, basically it'll be set up this way. And then we want is, let's see, we'll stick our skewers on there. And then we'll have a couple of options actually. We're going to make a fan, which is helpful as a simmer ring, one type, and we'll also have one which has a hole in the middle. And you'll just be able to put your simmer ring right on the top of there when you got a nice hot flame going, but you don't want it all hitting your pan because you want it to simmer for a while. Then you'll have that option as well. So, and of course, what I already mentioned is we'll have this thing, but we'll have a way to put a heat shield on here, but sort of have it hang off of your skewers. So, let's get started. Pull these out of the way, and we'll start with the one that we already know. You want to cut the end parts off first. So if you're going to do anything like poking holes in there, it's a lot easier when you have the sturdy shape rather than try to accomplish that when all you have left is this. So we'll do that. Get the knife out. And best way to do this, considering that this can happens to not have this little handy ring in there. I'm going to do it anyway. This time what I'm going to do is, it's going to have to sort of eyeball it. And there might be other ways that I haven't thought of yet, like making some sort of, you know how we just did, which one is it? Oh yeah, on the bottom of the progressive can we made a star. It might be possible to make a sort of a simmer ring like that, like a little fan shape that way, but we are actually going to make a fan. But you could make it one that doesn't extend all the way out to the outside, just like that. That's a possibility. So there's lots of different options. You can experiment with different patterns and stuff for how your simmer ring works best, and maybe there will be an issue of like what fits in your kit and what not. We're just going to try to find a different method to draw this hole in. Normally I would just draw a circle on here. In fact, you know what? I lost my idea. I don't have my pen with me. Oh, but I do. I do have a pen. I don't think it would work as well for this purpose. But I'm going to dig in my pocket and find a quarter. And, oh, actually I want it bigger than a quarter, so that's not going to work out that well. Let's see, what else can I do? Could also, where is, just put that on top of there, and I'll use that as my outline. So I'll just make some marker holes, and then I'll use that to dig all the way around. So I'll just go, in fact, I'm not even pushing it all the way through, I'm just sort of making little indents in there. Dents, not indents, but dents. So you see really, really light. Yeah, you can kind of see. So now I know where I want the hole to be. It's funny that it's not perfectly centered because that one's not perfectly centered. So I'll just start it off. Should wear gloves. Oops. Now that works. If I kind of lever my hand against it, then I can kind of rock it. Works a little better. Very rough. It's done. Obviously doesn't need to be that precise, though it would be nice if it was a little bit nicer, but it is what it is. Hands are free. So of course, get rid of the burrs. And I can work on it more later. I'm not going to worry about it right now. And now we just got to get this top off and actually get the ring off. If you actually for this piece, so this on this third stage, we want to get this band off. And if you actually have a what do you call it, a side cut can opener, one of the ones you stick on the side and just kind of work your way around so that it cuts off the entire top and leaving these edges really smooth, that would be a great thing to have for this purpose. I don't have one, so I'm actually just going to cut them off. So I'm just going to use scissors. I'm going to break the seal and then just kind of cut around the edges. And you can use some light duty shop shears. that should work. In this case, I'm going to use tin snips because it's going to make my job easier for just getting it done quick for the video. And let's see, what else do I need? I need my can opener. Where's my can opener? I need my can opener and just get the simmer ring out of there. Okay, so we'll just can openerize this one. Okay, so now we got a simmer ring as part of our kit. And now we just need this band right there. So here's what I'm going to try to do. Where's my glove? Who knows what kind of sharp edges we're going to result. And I'm actually just going to cut through. Since there's already a line there, I'm just going to go ahead and use that line. Because we're not going to keep this as a solid ring. It's going to be some bands that we can use for different purposes. There we go. Oh, should have put gloves on this hand too. So let's do that. Alright, just cut these rings off of here. Now is when it starts to get a little bit tricky. Okay, so I'm going to continue with that process off camera. Shorten the video time. Alright, so restarting the video just to show you what I discovered. It's actually easier to cut it from this side because this is the only thing that's in the way. So you can just continue this way. So what I'm saying is if I'm right-handed, to cut on the left side of this, and it works out much easier. You're not really getting in the way as much. Because the band, this little strip just kind of bends out of your way. Alright, so that process done. Now I realized that I screwed up. The reason I screwed up is that I wanted to make some holes in here, and I didn't do it. I should have done it when it was all sturdy, and now I'm going to have to like do little holes while I'm like holding it in sort of an awkward position. So that's not ideal. So I'm going to encourage you to do the next step first. But in this case, let's see what we're going to do. I'm going to, which is the way that I'm going to want to do it. One of these is going to be a blocker. And okay, so it's definitely going to be on the inside. So what I'm going to want to do, my ultimate use of this is going to be put it inside here. I'm going to put it inside here and mark the holes this way. In fact, I could probably use this for drilling the holes. So it may not work out that badly. I can get it out of there easily. I'm sure I can though. Shove it down in there a little bit more. Now I don't actually need to make holes. If all I wanted to do was block this off, to have it as an accessory for blocking it off. But I also want to be able to do some experiments with it, such as adjusting the hole size. And not only there, but adjusting the hole size here. I want something that I could also use down there to block it off, if just for experiment's sake. I think in most cases I'm never going to want to block it off completely. But there might be cases when I do. And I might come up with ideas for ways to use it that aren't obvious right now. So, what's the problem here? It seems to be getting caught up on the burrs in here. That, shove it down farther. Way more difficult than I expected. I think it made it down. Yeah, definitely did. Okay, so that's exactly where the holes are, and it's actually pretty tight in there, so it's going to make it pretty easy to drill some holes. So let's get out my bit. Which one? I'm using this one. So let's see if that rings true. If it's actually this easy to drill these holes in here. There's some resistance. There's definitely some resistance. So I think in this case I'm going to make pilot holes. Using the sharper one. Line it up exactly in the center. But I got a funny little groove there that makes it not that easy. Or not a groove, but it's a little bump. Nope. Let's brace it any way I can. Okay, gonna try to do something else. Let's go make little dents. Without poking all the way through, I'm gonna attempt to go. Show you the entire process. Just Just make sure it works. Yep. And yeah, that's interesting. If all I wanted to do is make a hole smaller, then I would have the option of having a smaller hole. I don't need to make it just as big. That's interesting. Now I think I'll go back and make it bigger. Because in some cases, I think I'm not going to want to have it on the inside. If I want to make it adjustable, then I'm going to want to put the ring on the outside so that I'm actually able to access it. I'm not going to stick my hand down in there while I'm cooking. So yeah, so I'll just make these holes first. And let's see, actually I'm going to try this and then I'll continue on my own. I want to see if just using my little knife pilot holes is enough to allow this to work. Yes. Though not as neatly. It was a little bit more messy of a process. Yeah, so that's doable. Okay, so I'm going to continue with that off camera. All right, I'm back, and I was able to get the holes in there, and I realized something funny that I've been telling you. This was making those holes in there was all about experimentation. That was actually a very important reason to make an important part of our kit that I totally forgot about, and I'm going to show you this in a moment. There, it's out. And here's how we're actually going to use it. And I will demonstrate after I cut this out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to split it right down here. And I haven't decided on what the right ratio for splitting this is. What I want to use part of it. I'm going to say not exactly in half, but you can choose whatever you want after you see what I do, and you can make your own idea up. I'm going to say like going, so not quite right there, but I'm going to go up a couple grooves to like right here. Yeah, that looks good. And it'll be a lot easier just to go through this and then show you after that what's going on than to try to explain it. So this should be pretty easy to cut through here. Hope it is. I'm going to try the scissors. A little bit longer for reach here. Nope, doesn't work as well. Okay, once again, just power through it. When I get about halfway, I'll switch directions. I'm going to try to be as straight as I can, because it is a little bit relevant how straight this is. Got the same groove. It would really suck if I picked the wrong groove. Sort of missing it though. finally. Okay, here's how we're going to use it. Take that, and you're in a situation where you want a short, where you can't afford the extra height. We can use this one. And it's not cooperating very well. That seems all right. And then proceed as usual. Line up. Guess I don't need the gloves anymore. Yeah, we'll just do that. Set it on top. Oops, didn't work. Likely just needs a little bit of, yeah, needs some encouragement to stay closed. Oh, why did that happen? That was unexpected. Definitely much more fragile. You can understand why they put those reinforcement rings in there. So just need to encourage it to want to stay small, give it some more curvature, and that'll be much more likely to stay. And if you want to give yourself a wider way to keep throwing stuff in there, you can just cut this off and give yourself, a little inch in there or so. So it should be possible to just set it right on top, as well as use it with these. So, not perfect, but it will work. And I'll decide at a later time whether I just want to cut off an extra inch so that I can just insert it right in there. And I think it will be just as sturdy, even though this is kind of rickety as it is. But we'll see. So the other thing, oh, and besides that, we can also use it for this purpose. Setting it down in there. In fact, let's do it this way. I could set it down this way, where it's a blockage all the way around. Or I could flip it like this. In fact, let's just do it this way. I wanted to experiment with closing the holes, which I don't think I would, but there might be an occasion in the future where we're using this for a completely different reason, like actually as a hobo stove for that matter. Using it as a hobo stove, but at some point maybe you want to cut off airflow to the bottom, and you can adjust how much air is getting there. So it'll be a bit about like using a gasifier. Too much air is getting in the bottom, or just mainly burning from the top. Then see, it's not lined up perfectly when you do it this way. So what ends up happening is you can sort of choose which ones you want. So we'll just have these, set these in the back, and then these rooms are all closed up. So it gives you some options. And you could also, I can foresee it working inside too. Stick it inside, you don't have direct access to it. You could still, so these are open right now, so you could still stick something in there and push them around, like that. Not quite as easy as I thought. So the 1, 2, 3 is open, mostly open, and mostly open. So, some interesting options that you're going to have with this extra piece here. So let's make the last piece. Which is, where's the extra piece? Oh, it fell down. Alright, this is going to be a heat reflector / wind guard. So the way this is going to work, as soon as I get this cooperating the same way, this one doesn't have to be as small, but you still want it to be pretty much closable. It's a little bit sharp. I still got to cut the burrs off there, grind them off. Okay, that's about what I want. All right, so we got it set up. Oops. Got our pot on there. And what we want to happen is we want to have a way that you just like set it around there so that it's below the level of these. So like at this level, or let's see, yeah, below the level of these, so that the wind from here is going, I mean, the exhaust from here is going up to the pan, to the pot, and it's basically keeping all the heat right there, as well as guarding the wind against cooling down the pot. Well, especially this is so high, there's a little bit more wind, so the wind will tend to cool down the pot. So we want to sort of prevent that. So what I was thinking to do was basically cut some grooves into here so that we could set it down, just basically set it right down on top of there, like that. So all we got to do is figure out a good spacing for where we want those. And in fact, what I was going to do is use these instead of using those, just use these as our permanent kit things. And it'll make it a lot easier just to set it down on there, and then what we want to do is curl up the edges so that this isn't shifting back and forth. So a couple things we need to do. So just set it on there. Obviously it's not going to be a complete thing, but the wind is usually coming from one side, right? Or at least even if it's a swirling wind, there's a certain number of sides where it's coming. So you determine where those are. One side's going to be a little bit more open. And let's see, what would be the optimal width? Well, it's got to accommodate what the largest pot that you have. That's one very important thing. So it might be that we make a number of holes in here, and it may depend on, let's make sure that I can do it with that one. So I'm going to open it up a bit. And then I'm going to figure out where that So I'm going to get some tape, because I would just get my marker, but I lost my marker. So put some tape on here, and then I'll show you what I did in a moment. Using some blue painter's tape. Actually, if I do it just like that, that'll be fine. Do it right outside of the painter's tape. That probably makes sense. In this case, I'm just going to draw a line. Alright, so all I did, this is just a pretty simple thing. I just drew marks are there. That's where I'm going to cut a groove. And here, I'm just going to cut it right on the outside of there. So pretty simple thing to do. There's a question of how far up I want to do it, and I definitely want to go up as far as it's going to be to get below the level of these holes. And so I want to mark it to about this right there. So I just marked it like that. So I'll just snip it up to there. Wide enough to get those in there. Not quite wide enough. Still not wide enough. deal with the excess in a moment. And same deal over here. I'll just go around, figure out where my height line is here, and I'll just trace it around here. You know, really it doesn't matter exactly where they are. Just as long as that you're able to accommodate wherever those are. It's kind of slanted. Guess that doesn't matter either. A little wider, a little wider. Definitely don't need to make it tight, and you want it to be wide enough so it's not giving you hassle when you're dealing with a hot stove and it's windy and you just want to get the dang thing together. So make it wide enough so it'll be comfortable for you. Okay, so I'm just going to bend these suckers off. One more. Whoops, wasn't really doing anything there. Okay, let's see how it works. Okay, a little bit wider. Looks like I need to be a little wider. And it occurs to me another way that this could be done is you could just make holes here, and before using this I just go, oh, actually these could be set vertical too. They actually could be set vertically. Huh, well that's not bad. And seems like they're pretty tight, they don't want to go anywhere, but I still kind of want to yeah, I probably want to put even just a little bit of a bend in these. Anyway, what I was saying is that we could just put holes in there and then just string the skewers across. Then you could have several sets of holes. But let's just make sure it works. So right like that. And I think that's really cool. That's really, really cool. And definitely it still works for the smaller one. We could also make another set to accommodate that. So let's see what I would do in that case. I think what I would want to do, let's just move this out of the way for now. If I could make it tighter and then make another set. I don't need to make a whole other set, I just need to make another one like right there. And it should still work really well. So I'll just do that. I'll just add another hole right there. I don't know if you can see it. Just another hole right there. And it doesn't matter if these are like angled like that, it's still going to hold the pot up, right? So we'll just add another one over there. Snips. Okay, using the smaller set. Definitely seems like one of these things you want to do before you get the fire on there. So tighten it up. It's probably only a certain number of times that we can keep tightening these and loosening them. And maybe you could make another one to accommodate your different size pots. Well, let's see how that one works out. Right in there, and okay, wait, it seems to want to fall over. What's going on? Ah, it fell down. This fell down. I didn't realize it. There. So, oh wait, what's going on? It is still wanting to fall down. What's up with that? Okay, back in a moment. Okay, so pardon the interruption. During the break, I did a couple things, and basically the reason why I was flipping over was really because there was no weight in the pot, and the table's a little bit tipped, so of course it wanted to tip over. But I also made a couple adjustments that would make it a little bit more stable. And here I have it. It's simulated as if there was water in there just by putting a little rock in there. But I went ahead and enlarged the holes. Let me just pull that off of there. Well, here's an example. Right here, I just drilled an extra hole, and that enabled me to not be confined to just this one. I just want to make another hole. So you can continue to make like a bunch of holes in here to give you access to a number of different ranges. So you don't have to make these slits, which, yeah, you notice that I had to like recut them to try to get them the right size. Making these holes, it seems to be a much easier solution. So that just seems really simple. Find the height that you need it to be at so that you're covering up the holes and it still gives you enough of a heat shield. And it's a wind shield really, and a heat reflector. And so just make yourself a number of holes across there to give you a range of things you do. The only thing that's left that's kind of a hassle is it kind of wants to open and close and slide from side to side. So what I want to do is just at least take one of these. If I do two of them, it's going to be a hassle to try to fit them in like a puzzle. But I'm just going to take one of these and bend them so that at the very least I can shove it all the way in there, and it's not going to want to go that way. And for that matter, I mean, I guess I could just use these. Let's see how that works out. Let's take that one out. And it's kind of all the way out there at the tip. So I wanted to make more efficient use of the length of these, so I could make it have it go out a lot further, so it's not tempted to pull itself off. So I'll just like make one in. And do I really need this? Not sure, because it might end up, because this is kind of handy, but at the same time, in the end, I could just like lift it all off with this. And if all I did was have a bunch of holes in there, which I think is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of those little things that causes it to all fall apart. And if I just had a bunch of holes, in fact, this one will work as a hole because I sort of enlarged it. This one will. Okay, it's going to be better if I just make a bunch of holes like that. So I'm going to encourage you to do that too. I'll make a number of holes in here, ignore the slits, and that will give me a number of different options. and I want something that's going to be a little longer because the effective length of the way I cut it here, this is the difference. So maybe if I just angle it just a little bit. So where's my pliers? Just angle just a little bit to give it just a little bit of discouragement. So just a little bit of an L just like that. And it may give me a little place to grip, or maybe not. Maybe it won't really give me any place to grip it. But feel free to come up with your own creative solutions, and you tell me about them if you like. This is not one of the most critical parts of the entire thing, so I feel perfectly comfortable not having an optimal solution for this. Good, it didn't just break. Seems like the closer you get to the edge, the more resistance it gives you towards bending it. Okay, so we're going to call it, let me just make another hole. Make a few more holes and then show you the completed kit. In fact, I'll just pause it right now. Alright, so this would be a completed deal. I've just done that, put holes. Now I can actually lift it because they're all just holes in there. See it coming out the other side. It doesn't fall apart because I've added the extra little things. So that's good. I just set it on top of there. If I want to readjust it for the larger pot, I just do something like a part more. Use one of these. Oops. Possibly didn't. See how that works. Works. It's pretty tight. It should work. But I could adjust it to make it a little bit more loose if that's necessary, but I think that'll work just fine. And let's see, there's also, maybe not. Okay, so let's just go back, take it all back to the beginning, and pack it all up. Reverse unboxing. So we got this, this, and this. This fits very neatly right inside there. Question is exactly what are we going to do with the other things? Well, we can shove this one in there. Should be able to shove it in there fairly easily, I think. Let's see, it's become less round, so this is going to be a question. Can we get it in there? It's kind of flared out now. Flared out because we were messing with these little things. So, in order for it to be a kit, it's going to have to cooperate. Let's do it this way. Definitely need to get those burrs off there. Okay, shove it down. A little more of a hassle than I want. Especially if this interferes with my ability to stick it in there. That one goes in more easily. There, fits. Okay, there might be ways to make it cooperate a little bit better. In fact, I think maybe the one that we use as a ring might be better to put on the outside of this one. I think that might actually work a little bit better. To just get it part way together, put the thing on there, and shove it in from the outside. But that's together now. And let's see, depending on which skewers I use, let's say that I use these skewers. Set those in there. Let's see which way. They're going to stick out top a little bit because I wanted the extra length. And that's okay. think it should also be possible. It might be too tight to stick them in here now. Is it longer than this? Oh, it is longer, so it's not actually going to fit in there like that. So there, lighter. We have some lighter fluid. Get that in there. And then we'll want some kind of little pouch. And I don't have my pouch with me, but you've seen it, seen the little pouch that I have. You can usually find those little ditty bags, what they call them. It's places like REI, outdoor stores. And they're just like all-purpose little ditty bags, or adopt one from something else, or even make one, because it wouldn't be that hard. Just a little tube. In fact, like even I think like you just take an old shirt like this. There's a tube right there. Stitch it up on the bottom, and you got a ready-made tube. And you know, find a way to stitch it up. I mean, tie it up at the top, and you'll have a nice little ditty bag. Or you can carry your stove. And let's just one more test to make sure that we can take it all apart. That, oh, I forgot. Also, we got all these things, all of your extra accessories. We didn't even finish this yet. So we got a simmer ring. You can use the simmer ring on top of there. We can use, these are our bottoms, but you can also use as the bottom the one that came with the can. So that'll be on the bottom. Let's go take it apart now. That came right out. That's good. Let's take this one out. And then we got to get this one out. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. If those darn, if I hadn't cut those slits in there, this would come out right away. But the slits are making it, I mean, cutting those slits turn it into flaps. They're kind of flaring out. Okay, so, do it again. So put it on the base. Load it with our fuel. Get it lit up. Set that on top. And we need this thing in there. So actually, before we load it up, we'll put this on there. Or possibly even put it on the outside. Cover up those holes like that. So that's perfectly fine. Or optionally, let's use that in there like that as a shorter stove. So let's say we do this. And then we got a couple other things that we could put on the top. Oops, we're going to use these ones anyway. You might wonder if you could do this. It's also possible. Do that if you have a smaller pot. Like that. So this one kind of barely fits, so you're not going to be able to fit very many pots. That's a very small one. So let's say that we put it back like that. Optional simmer ring, and then a couple other things that we didn't do anything with yet. So just quickly do this. You can make a fan. Very easy to do. A fan I have used to make toast. I just set it on top of there, and then rather than just have one big flame and then holding my toaster over top of it and you know, just scorching one part of the toast while the other one, the fan will distribute it much more evenly. And you can feel free to try to find other ways to use it, like as a grating, though I haven't had a lot of success for that. This also will work really well as a simmer ring. There. And then you can save the other one to use as like a bottom of your hobo stove if necessary. Or you can experiment with like putting holes in there, which I think would probably be a good use for the other one, just to put holes, which will make it useful, still make it useful as a hobo stove without letting stuff fall through. So it'll be kind of like a grating, and maybe even like a super simmer ring if you need super simmering power. And in fact, a lot of holes might even make a better version of them instead of this one for making toast or something like that. And I still have yet to come up with a good contraption for making toast. And by good contraption, I mean really good. There's all kinds of ways to just like simulate making toast. Usually the way that I do it is I'll just get a fork and stick it in the side of the toast and just like hold it over the thing, just like you would do with a campfire. And it works fine. It works really well. It would be nice to have one, you know, I've seen the one that they have at Walmart, but I don't want to spend money on a thing that does 4 pieces of toast at a time. I never use 4 pieces of toast. So probably just some kind of triangular contraption that I could do it without much maintenance. But still, it gets done fast. It's like, you know, how long do you need to leave it for? A minute? And then flip it over. So it's not that big of a deal. So I would say use the other one and drill a bunch of holes in there, and then you'll have yet another little thing that you can experiment with. So like something that fan grating, and then a holes grating, and a simmer type of ring, all of which can be used as simmer type rings, as well as oh yeah, and by the way, your Hobo stove can be used, I mean your concentrator as a I'm mixing up my terms here. We can use this as a concentrator ring if you're going to use the stove this way. So good. I'm glad I remembered that one because that's a good, important use. So I think we did it. We covered up all the bases of the kit, all the different parts that you have now that you can use. And we use a total of 4 cans, right? All of them except for the paint can are free, so basically you've spent a total of up to $4, probably about $3.50 to get yourself a complete cook kit, plus your pellet stove, which is going to be 40 pounds for $4, which is practically free. And yeah, it might as well be considered free. I mean, you know, unless you have a tough time finding it or something like it. And it's a little bit of a hassle to find it sometimes, so it's like there's a little bit of effort sometimes if you buy it out of season. Try to buy your big things in the winter. Anything else? No, I think that about covers it. You got a cool cook kit now for cooking pellets and wood in all sorts of circumstances. So have fun, and let me know any other ways that you find to modify it and use it in creative ways. All right?